This is one of the hardest games that you'll ever play, with some of the best music from the 16-bit era. This is Gaiares, or Gaiares, which is the proper pronunciation for Sega Genesis from 1990. And welcome to the new era on Classic Game Room with some fancy hardware I picked up, allowing me to record Sega Genesis games straight out of my modified Model 1 with S-video. It looks this good. Gaiares is the perfect game to showcase what an S-video modified Genesis can do, and I was going to use the Retron 3 with S-video for this review, but changed my plans at the last moment, although I will say the Retron 3 is very close to this in terms of video performance. But don't expect this kind of audio out of anything except a real Sega Genesis, preferably Model 1. Anyway, before I get on with this, the first Retron 3 played Genesis review will be a revisitation of Truxton played in the Japanese setting as Tatsujin. Look for that one after this review, but let's move on with Gaiares, one of the most punishing and unforgiving games ever. In terms of music and overall production value, Gaiares is up there with Musha, but it's about 10 times harder. At first glance, this might look like a bit of an R-Type clone, and it has some similarities, but it's completely different because the floating pod, or the TOZ weapons device that you launch at enemies, absorbs the weapons from your bad guys, giving you a variety of different guns in the game. So, there's no safe, comfortable floating power-ups in Gaiares. Every standard enemy in this game is its own power-up. But of course they're shooting at you, which makes them much harder to get. And when you launch your TOZ at them, you're defenseless for a moment, further complicating your already difficult situation. There's times while playing this game that you'll want to find the designers and throw a drink in their face. But keep in mind that repetition and memorization is the key to Gaiares. You will not survive without repeat gameplay and a complete understanding of where everything and every enemy is in each level. There are safe, comfortable shield power-ups laying around. You'll definitely want to find them because shields are your lifeblood. Without them, you're screwed. In addition to merely stealing weapons from enemies, you can also power them up by repeatedly shooting your TOZ at them. As you can see, I'm going to opt for the spread shot for the remainder of this level, which is great for standard enemies but horrible for end bosses. So it'll be a bit of a clumsy playthrough here, but this is my best game, which is why I'm opting to use this particular recording. When I finally made it to level 3, I can honestly tell you that my heart was pounding in my chest harder than it's pounded while playing any video game in recent memory. That's how intense Gaiares is. And with that, I'll have to give a giant Classic Game Room thank you to Matt from Marshfield Hills, Massachusetts, for donating this awesome game and for telling me the proper pronunciation, Gaiares, although I find it easier to say Gaiares. One of the things that makes this so challenging is the speed of certain enemy projectiles. As you may have noticed earlier, I flew through a few alien laser beams. Fortunately, I had the shields. I find that when I play this game, I have to actually react to things before they even happen. There's no easy setting on Gaiares. It's not the kind of game that you can practice for a while and then throw yourself into a harder game. It's just hard, which is why shields are essential. I just picked them up there, but due to interlacing, you may not see the shields at the moment, but they are equipped. I think that Gaiares will appeal to those of you who enjoy the Darius series of games. or Sega on the Genesis. Instead of the forgiving Thunder Force style where you get blown up and then continue, this has the punishing R-type / last resort style, which sends you back to a checkpoint, forcing you to try it all over again. Gaiares also reminds me of another game that you may have heard of, the amazing yet challenging Einhander. There's a rather sizable variety of weapons that you can pick up in this game. I'm only showing you a handful. For those of you with a Genesis or a Mega Drive, or if you've picked up that Retron 3 that I showcased, and you enjoy spaceship shooters, put this one on the top of your list. In addition to beautiful visuals and sound design, you'll be greeted with 8 levels full of enemies trying to kill you. I've only gotten up to level 3 without continues, and it will keep you coming back for more because it's fun to play and the music is outstanding. And as I'm editing this, I'm watching my footage thinking, that doesn't look that hard, but actually, this is the game where I have everything memorized and played well. It took me several dozen tries to figure out how to get through this end boss. Much of your success in this game will depend on what weapon you choose for which part of each level, and after I get through this lady, I'm going to end up just crashing and burning on level 3, which I have not memorized. Due to the conversion of interlaced video into HD, you're actually not able to see her shooting giant fire ray things at me. So this is actually harder than it looks, as my heart is about to jump out of my chest. And that's Gaiares. They don't craft them like this much these days, nor do they pack them with this kind of difficulty. An excellent game, and thank you again to Matt. I'm going to have to sit down and really struggle to get my way through Gaiares. Because as hard as it is, you can't replicate that feeling of accomplishment after you get through the end boss who's been kicking your ass backwards and forwards.